this section, we will start talking about data types. Like I said earlier in the course, when we assign a value to a variable, it can be of different data types. Every time you work with a programming language, it is very important to know what are the data types it supports and what operations can be done with each of them. In this lesson, we will talk about strings. Some people define a string as text, which can be a sentence or multiple sentences. It could be a word or even a single character. Even though those definitions are not completely wrong, the more accurate definition of string is a sequence of characters. Let's create a new string and then learn some interesting aspects of this data type. So I'm just going to create a new variable called myString. And I'm just going to write some text. Like I showed previously, we can check the data type of a variable using the type function. As we can see, the data type is str, which stands for string. And how does Python know we just passed the string? It's because of the quotation marks. Strings should always be inside quotation marks. Even if you pass a number inside quotation marks, it is going to be stored as a string. So let's try assigning 33 in quotation marks. So we can see that this value was stored as a string. Actually, this is the correct way of storing numbers that are not used for calculations, such as an invoice number or a zip code. We can also use single quotation marks. We just can't mix them. If we start with double quotation marks, we should end with double quotation marks. This can be useful when we need to use quotation marks inside our string. So let's say we want to write something like, she said, and then I want to quote, so meet me at 5. Now we can see that the color has changed, and what's happening here is that Python thinks that this string ends here, and it doesn't understand what you're trying to do after that. So if you want to do something like this, we could use single quotation marks for the string, so then we can use double quotation marks inside it, and there will be no problem. Now let's understand why I talked about a sequence of characters. In a string, every character has its own index, starting from 0. We can access an index by using braces. So we can just use the name of the variable, and then using braces, we can tell the index we want to get. In this case, I'm going to get the first character. We can also get an index from the end of a string by using negative numbers. The last character of a string is -1. So I can just repeat this, and I can use negative numbers. So if I just put -1, we can see that the last character of the string is the quotation marks. If I type -2, it's going to return 5. -3 is going to return an empty space, -4, until the beginning of the string. A string has also a length, which is the number of characters. We can get the length of a string by using the len function. As we can see, we have 23 characters in that string. So we can also get the last character of a string by using its length. Let me change its value so we can see it better. I'm gonna put something smaller like she. So now we have 3 characters. We know that the first character is index 0, the second one is 1, and the last character, in this case, is index 2. So no matter what is the size of our string, the last character is always going to be the length -1. So we could do it like this. We can use the len function inside the braces. So the length of my string, which is 3, -1, it's going to result in 2 inside here. So this is going to be the same as asking for the last character. And this is going to work no matter the size of our string. This way of getting the last element of a sequence using its length will be very important, especially when you start using loops, as you will see later in the course. We can also get part of a string by using a technique called slicing. Let's say I have a string that represents a bank account number, where the first two characters indicate what country that account is from. So the first two characters represents the country. Now, if I want to extract the country code of this bank account number, I can do it with slicing. This is similar to getting by index, but we use colon and a second index. So in this case, it's going to be 0, colon, 2. So as you can see, the first index is included, but the second one we inform is not included. So it's going to get from 0 until 2, but not including index number 2. So it's going to stop in index 1. Now let's say we had the opposite. So instead of having the country code in the beginning, let's put the country code in the end. So we could get from -2, which is this one, included. And now we have a problem because the second number is not included. So if we try to do this, it's going to return only P. So how can we get the last two numbers? We can just omit the second value. Let me put this a bit more to the top. When we do this, it's going to get from the index we're informing until the end of the string, okay? So if it did it like this, for example, it would get from -5 until the end of the string. And we can do that same thing in the beginning. So we could do something like, don't tell any index here. So instead of putting 0, we can just leave it blank and then put it like 3. So then it's going to get from the beginning of the string until index 3, which is this one, but not including this one. So that's why it returned 100. Now let's see some operations we can do with strings. We already talked about concatenation, which can be done using the plus sign. So if I have a string like this, hello, I can concatenate with a space and another word. And now I have everything in one string. Just be careful when you have different data types. So if I try to do like hello plus a number, it's going to result in an error. So let's say you need to use a number to concatenate with text. Let's say you generate a random number to add to a username. You could do it like this. So I have a user, and then I want to concatenate with a number. We can just use the str function, which is going to convert the number to string. So if we do it like this, then it's going to concatenate the string with the number. We're going to learn more string operations as we advance in the course. Now that we know the basics of strings, it's time to know some other data types. I'll see you in the next video.